ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from Chaitanya Charitāmrta Adi Leela. We are on chapter 12. So this chapter is entitled The Branches and the Sub-Branches of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. Expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. So last class we discussed the various branches of Advaita Acharya. The 5 main branches of Advaita Acharya Kaviraj Goswami describes in detail. The first 3 are the 3 sons of Advaita Acharya, starting with Achyutananda, then Krishna Mishra and Sri Gopal. So these are the first three prominent branches. Then the 4th branch was Kamalakanta Vishwas, and we discussed the pastime of Kamalakanta Vishwas in detail. How he wrote a letter to Prataprudra Maharaj that Advaita Acharya is under a debt, and please liquidate the debt. And Mahaprabhu somehow came to know. So Kamalakanta has described that Advaita Acharya is the supreme personality, but he is under debt. So Mahaprabhu became furious that how can he say that? Supreme Lord, how can be under debt? So he chastised Kamalakanta Vishwas and he said, he should not be allowed to come in front of me. Advaita Acharya, when he heard this, he became very happy, because he went to Kamalakanta and said, you have received special mercy of Lord. I am not so fortunate to be chastised by the Lord. Therefore, I expounded this Yoga Vasishtha, Mayavad philosophy, so that Mahaprabhu can accept me as servant. And then Mahaprabhu, he went to Advaita Acharya, went to Mahaprabhu, and then he said, oh, why have you shown more mercy to Kamalakanta Vishwas? You have never shown me such mercy. And Mahaprabhu became very happy, and he called Kamalakanta Vishwas back, and he gave him very wonderful instructions. Vishaya Ranna Khaila Dushta Hoilaman, and Dushtaman Hoile Nahi Krishnera Smaran, Krishna's Smriti Vinu Hoye Nishphala Jivan, all that wonderful instructions. Then he described about the 5th branch, Yadunandana Acharya, and then he describes the 2 branches. Advaita Acharya branch is divided into two groups: the bona fide devotees and the pretentious devotees. So those who are bona fide, they flourished, and the pretentious, they perished. So we were discussing about this ungrateful branches. So those branches, those followers of Advaita Acharya who did not accept Mahaprabhu as a supreme, they perished. Because Mahaprabhu, his original trunk, he didn't give water. He is the original gardener. He didn't put water of his mercy on these ungrateful branches. So therefore, in due course of time, they perished. So we had discussed till 69th verse. 70th verse, very important, very, very wonderful verse Kaviraj Goswami is writing. Chaitanya rahit deha shushka kashta sam jivite mrita se dande tarayam. Chaitanya rahit deha. A person who is without Krishna consciousness, he is no better than a dry wood or a dead body. Shushka kashtha sam jivite mrita se. Although he is living, he is as good as dead. Dande tarayam. Because while living he is dead, and after his death he'll be punished by Yamraj. Srila Prabhupada, in the introduction of Chaitanya Charitāmrita, he describes the meaning of this word Chaitanya Charit Amrit. In this verse, Kaviraj Goswami says Chaitanya Rahita Deha. So what is the meaning of Chaitanya Charita Amrita? Prabhupada writes there, Chaitanya means the living force, and Charita means character, and Amrit means immortal. So what is Chaitanya Charitāmrit? It is a character of living force in immortality. That is Chaitanya Charita Amrit. Every living entity, his original position, that is Chaitanya Charita Amrita. Original position of being servant, that is Chaitanya Charitamrit. The character of living force in immortality. So anybody who is not accepting this Krishna consciousness, he is as good as dead. Bhagavatam also describes that person who does not use his hands to serve the Lord. The hands, although decorated by bangles, they are as good as the hands of a dead person. If you decorate the dead man with all the jewelry and ornaments, it is of no use. Any scripture which does not describe the glories of the Lord, it is a dead literature. Nayadvajaschitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragranita karhe chet tadvaya samtirthamushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantyu sikshaya. Nayadvajaschitra. Those words which do not describe the Harer Yasha, the pastimes of the Lord, Jagat Pavitram, these pastimes can only purify the entire world. They are the place of pilgrimage for the crows. Tadvayasam tirthamushanti manasa. Vayasam tirtham. Crows, if you leave the crow in the middle of the garden, it will find garbage somewhere in the corner and will go there. Nayatra Hamsa, the swans are not interested in such literatures. Anything which is not connected to Krishna is dead. That's what Bhagavatam says. Only Krishna consciousness makes anything in this world living, anything in this world beautiful, anything in this world attractive. Yasyakhilam bhavi sumangalai vacho vimishra gunakarma janmabhi prananti shumbhanti punanti vai jagat yastad viratta shavashobhanamati. Yasya akhil amiv habi. All the sins, they are purified. Vacho vimishra, when the words which are mixed with the glories of guna, karma, janma of the Lord. When these words are spoken, prananti, they give life. Shumbhanti, they purify. Punanti vai jagat, they animate the world. Shumbhanti means animate. Punanti means purify. Otherwise, yastad virakta, if such words are not there, it is like a shavashobhana. What is the use of any other literature? It is all a decoration of a dead body. It is of no use. Shavashobhana. How much gold you put on a dead body, it is of no use. It will not become attractive. The ornaments, they make the body attractive till the time the soul is there in the body. When the soul leaves the body, then ornaments are of no use. They don't make the dead body attractive. Similarly, Chaitanya Rahit Deha Shushka Kashta Sam. A person without Krishna consciousness, he is a dead man, a dead person. He is dead in this life, and after this life, he'll be punished by Yamraj. Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says, please take advantage of this human form of life. Please don't misuse it. Paya manushya janma jena shune gaur gun hena janma tara vyartha hoila. Paya amrita dhuni piye vishagarta pani janmi ase kene nahi maila. Oh, you have got a human form of life. You are not hearing the glories of the Lord. Are, why did you take birth? Janmi ase kene nahi maila. Are, you should have died long back. You are drinking poison and you are giving up nectar. Paya amrita dhuni piye vishagarta pani. Why did you take birth? So therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the power and the importance of taking to Krishna consciousness is one will not go to Yamraj. Dande Tarayam will not happen to those people who are devotees. Prabhupada quotes a verse from the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, where Yamraj is telling to Yamdutas after they return from the place of Ajamil, being chastised by Vishnudutas. Yamraj tells, I'll tell you whom to bring. Please don't go to the devotees of the Lord. Please bring those people who do not chant the names of the Lord, who do not bow down in front of the Lord, who do not remember the Lord. Don't bring the devotees, because Krishna is already protecting them with Gada in his hand. Jihvana Vakti Bhagavad Gunnamadheyam Chetaschana Smrati Tacharanar Vindam Krishnaya no namati yashire kadapi tananayadhvam masato vakrit Vishnu Krityan. जिह्वान भक्ति, जिह्वा से भगवान का नाम नहीं निकलता है, उसको लेके आओ. चेतश्चन स्मृति, if somebody is not remembering the Supreme Lord, bring him. Krishnaya no namati, if he is not bowing down in front of the Lord, bring him. Don't bring the devotees. So if somebody has Caitanya, somebody has Krishna consciousness, he will not go to Yamraj. Otherwise, what is the use of living if somebody is not taking to Krishna consciousness? So Kaviraj Goswami and the scriptures, they describe very strongly that the person who does not take to Krishna consciousness, he is like a dead man. He is all his good qualities are the decoration of a dead body. Bhagavad bhakti hinasya jati shastram japa tapa apranasya dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. If Bhagavad Bhakti is not there, it is like a dead body. Apranasya dehasya. It is of no use. So that is how Chaitanya is, Chetana of Krishna is very important. Kevalaye Ganaprati nahiye danda Chaitanya vimukhuye seita pashanda. Another very strong verse Kaviraj Goswami is writing. Very, very mind-boggling. Kevale Ganaprati nahiye danda. This punishment is not only for the misguided descendants of Advaita Acharya. Only, oh, they were, deviated, so they will be punished. No, he says anyone who is against the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is an atheist. Chaitanya vimukhe seita pashanda. He is an atheist. Everyone who is against Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, he'll be punished by Yamraj, whoever he may be. May he be a learned scholar or a tapasvi or a scholar or a sannyasi or a wonderful householder. If he is not worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or if he is against the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he'll be punished. Ki pandit ki tapasvi ki ba grihayati Chaitanya vimukhyai tar gati. Even if somebody is a scholar, ki pandit, ki tapasvi, even if somebody is tapasvi or a scholar or a successful householder or a sannyasi, Chaitanya vimukha, if you are against the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, tar gati. He will also go to hell. He'll also be punished by Yamraj. So therefore, Prabhupada writes in a very long purport, a very strong purport against Hinduism. So all these things cannot be spoken in public. So therefore, Chaitanya Charitamrita is a very, very personal literature. Bhagavad Gita, you can speak in Pandal program for 10,000 people are sitting and you can speak. Srimad Bhagavatam, only in temples. Temple Bhagavatam classes you can discuss. Chaitanya Charitamrita, only with very intimate devotees. It cannot be discussed in public. It is not a public literature. It is a private literature. It is only for private circulation. Because Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he has written his heart, his emotions, his sorrows, his frustrations, his anxieties, whatever he has gone through, he has written everything. He doesn't write all this in Bhagavad Gita. He doesn't write all this in Srimad Bhagavatam. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, many places you will find Prabhupada is against his other god brothers, or he's against common Hindu culture. Very strong. And here you will find another thing, another example of this. In 73rd verse, purport, Prabhupada writes, so Kaviraj Goswami says that those who are descendants of Achyutananda, they were all great devotees. So Prabhupada, he catches this 72nd verse, 71st and 2nd. And he says, whoever you may be, if you are against Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you're not spreading the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you'll go to hell. You'll perish. And Prabhupada quotes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Amrit Pravaha Bhashya. He says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a gardener. And he has planted this tree of Bhakti Kalpa, Vriksha. But what has happened under the spell of illusory energy, living entities, they are so unfortunate. Although Mahaprabhu wants to give the fruits to each and every one. That's why he has come. And in 9th chapter, we heard in great detail, Mahaprabhu is pleading to each and every branch, please help me. Are I'm alone. How many fruits I'll eat alone? How many fruits I can distribute alone? Please help me. Bharat Bhumite Manushya Janma Hoila Yar Janam Sarthak Kori Korapara Upakar. He's pleading to each and every one. But there will be some unfortunate people who will not take to this. So Prabhupada writes that the branches or the descendants of Advaitacharya who neglected the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they got dried up. They were destroyed. They withered away. So therefore, anyone who has, Prabhupada writes, anyone who has no connection with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if he is a sannyasi, ki pandita, ki tapasvi, ki va grihayati, whoever you may be, a scholar or a pandit or a tapasvi or a very successful householder, even if you are a sannyasi, Chaitanya vimukhyai se taragati, you will be destroyed. Anyone who is not connected to a tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is like a dead branch. Not connected means dead, right? Then Prabhupada writes, this analysis by Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells that the present situation of the Vedic culture in India, the so-called Hindu religion, the followers of so-called Hindu religion, because they are away from the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they have concocted a very hodgepodge philosophy and they are just practicing Mayavad. In current days, Hindu culture, Hindu dharma is full of Mayavad only. All the big scholars and big sannyasis, they are preaching Mayavad in the name of Hinduism. Prabhupada writes, these Mayavadis, they greatly fear Krishna consciousness movement, and they accuse the movement of spoiling the Hindu dharma. Prabhupada had to face all that when he was here in India trying to preach. Many Mayavadis, many scholars, many sannyasis, they would be very much against Krishna consciousness movement, telling that, oh, all these are Western boys and girls, Western people, they are Malecha, Yavana. How can they become Vaishnavas? How can they become Brahmanas? But Prabhupada, just see, people, we have accepted people from all over the world, and we are transforming them, and they have become good devotees. They have given up all their bad habits. They are following the four regulative principles. They have become purified Vaishnavas. But all these Mayavadis, so-called Hindu dharma people, they criticize us. Then Prabhupada writes, nowhere in the Hindu scriptures, nowhere in the Vedic scriptures, you'll find the word Hindu. All this Hindu has come from Afghanistan, Prabhupada writes, a Muslim country, because these people, when they were passing through the area known as Hindu Kush, so they gave this name to this country. But actual Vedic dharma is Sanatan dharma and Varnashram dharma. And the purpose of Varnashram dharma is Vishnu aradhyate pantha Varnashram acharvata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate. Nanya tattoshika. There is no another reason. And therefore Prabhupada writes that we are giving chance. Krishna consciousness movement is giving chance to everyone to connect to Krishna, connect to God. That is the highest dharma we are practicing. And therefore, he says, Prabhupada writes that practically in all parts of the world, we are getting success. Wherever we are preaching, people are taking to this process very nicely. And although Prabhupada writes all these so-called philosophers, scholars, sannyasis, householders, they are so-called followers of Hinduism, but they are all dried branches of Vedic culture because they have not accepted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Rahita Deha Shushka Kashta Sam Jivite Mritase Dandetarayam. So anyone who does not accept Mahaprabhu, anyone who does not accept Krishna, he is like a dead branch. So therefore Prabhupada writes, the essence of Vedic culture is to preach the message of Mahaprabhu, preach the message of Krishna consciousness, and we are doing it. But still those who are envious, they are criticizing us. And these are they are envious of ISKCON, therefore they are drying up, they are dying. And we are flourishing because our ISKCON branch is connected to Chaitanya tree. So that is how Prabhupada is very strongly describing that how all the so-called Hindu culture, so-called Hindu dharma, they are just practicing Mayavad. For most of the Hindus, they don't know what they are practicing. For them, everything is one. Any dharma you practice, it is one. They have no substance in their practice. They are just covered sense gratifiers. That's all. Just like people, they use lemon so that the taste increases in the food. So all these Hindus, so-called Hindus, they use spirituality to increase their sense gratification. They don't have any understanding of what is spirituality. So Prabhupada is very much against it. It is all Mayavad. Current Mayavad is complete hodgepodge. It is whatever Shankaracharya gave, that Mayavad and today's Mayavad is, difference of sky and the, ground. Huge difference. Today's Mayavad is full of sense gratification, and it has a masala of politics also, freedom, nationalism, freedom fighting, nationalism, sense gratification, all these, and social service. Today's Mayavadi is all that. All hodgepodge khichdi of all these things. The grains of these Mayavad's khichdi is the desire to enjoy. That is the main desire of every living entity, to become controller. That is a grain. And to add on this, that was the Shankaracharya's philosophy, you are God. And that was the main philosophy. But today's Mayavad is complete khichdi. The grains are the desire to be independent, and then the masala is added of nationalism, then social service, and all these things. So therefore, Prabhupada is very much against Hindu culture many times. But in today's context, we have to be really sensitive. How we present ourselves in the social circles. For our understanding, we should know that what is Hinduism, what is Sanatan Dharma, and what is ISKCON. When we present these things to the outside world, we have to be really sensitive and careful. After all, we have to live in a society which is full of these things, and we have to grow. We have to preach, and for preaching, we need help of everyone. So therefore, we cannot just blaspheme all these Hindu dharma in the public, because after all, whatever you say about Hindu dharma, at least they are Vedic. At least they are connected to Vedic scriptures. So therefore, it is very, very important to be sensitively deal with all these issues. So Prabhupada, Kaviraj Goswami continues, by the mercy of Advaita Acharya, those who were strict followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they flourished and they attained the shelter of Mahaprabhu. But those who did not follow, they were destroyed. And then after describing various branches of Advaita Acharya tree, Kaviraj Goswami offers millions of obeisances to various devotees of Advaita Acharya and the followers of Achyutananda. The Achyutananda, the main sub-branch of Advaita Acharya is Achyutananda. And he had millions of followers. So therefore, after describing this, Kaviraj Goswami says, I have described the three main branches of Advaita Acharya: Achyutananda, Krishna Mishra, and Gopal. And then he says there are many branches. I've just given a glimpse of that. Then he describes the branches of Gadadhar Pandit. This is another prominent branch of the Chaitanya tree. The three prominent branches of Chaitanya tree: Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, and Gadadhar Pandit. Out of them, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, they are most prominent. Then after that is Gadadhar. Third one is Gadadhar. And there are many devotees, many sub-branches of this Gadadhar branch. The chief of the branches is, there are four devotees: Dhruvananda, Sridhar Brahmachari, Haridas Brahmachari, and Raghunath Bhagavatacharya. Prabhupada doesn't describe about all of them. Just few of them he describes. He says Dhruvananda Brahmachari is an incarnation of Lalita Devi, and Sridhar Brahmachari is the incarnation of Chandra Latika, another gopi from Krishna Leela. Then the fifth branch is Ananta Acharya, another powerful, very, very powerful branch. Haridas Pandit, the famous Govinda Dev priest, he is a disciple of Ananta Acharya. Ananta Acharya is a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. So then another sixth branch is Kavi Datta, who is gopi named Kalakanthi. Then Nayan Mishra, he is another gopi named Nitya Manjari. Then Ganga Mantri, he is another gopi named Chandrika. Then there is another very unique person. His name is Mamu Thakur. So who was Mamu Thakur? So he is actually Mama of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His actual name is Jagannath Chakravarti, but because he was Mama of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so therefore he became known as Mamu Thakur. Because uncle is known as Mama. So after the departure of Gadadhar Pandit, this Mamu Thakur, he became in charge of Tota Gopinath Mandir, and he was taking care of the seva there. And who is this Mamu Thakur? He's, some people say he is also an incarnation of Rupa Manjari. Then there is another devotee called Kantha Bharan. He is another gopi called Gopali, you know. Then there is another great devotee, the 11th branch, Bhugarbha Gosai. Very, very great devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Bhugarbha Gosai was very intimate, close friend of Loknath Goswami. So Loknath Goswami, when he was in Navadvip, Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu told him, you go to Vrindavan. And Loknath Goswami was in intense separation. He didn't want to go. Because those times going to Vrindavan means, I don't know when he will come back. Will I be able to see him again? If anybody is going to Vrindavan. So Loknath Goswami was thinking, if I go to Vrindavan, I will not be able to see Mahaprabhu again. And that's what actually happened. He could never see Mahaprabhu again. But he was not willing to go. He was crying. He was telling Mahaprabhu, why are you throwing me out of your, association? Please keep me in your association. I want to serve you. But Mahaprabhu said, I am sending you on a higher mission. You go to Vrindavan and excavate the holy places. That is a service to all the devotees. So he was not getting pacified. Then somehow, he agreed. And then Bhugarbha Goswami, he said, okay, I'll go with Loknath Goswami. So both of them, they went to Vrindavan along with another devotee named Bhagwat Das, who was another branch of Gadadhar Pandit. So Bhagwat Das, Bhugarbha Goswami, and Loknath Goswami, they all went to Vrindavan. And why he's called as Bhugarbha Goswami? Because he would not stay on the ground. He had made a tunnel. He had made a cave underground, and he would stay there. He would do his bhajan there. He would not come out. Bhugarbha, he had taken the shelter of earth. And both Bhugarbha Goswami and Loknath Goswami excavated more than 300 holy places in Vrindavan. That was the amazing contribution of Bhugarbha Goswami and Loknath Goswami. So Loknath Goswami, he was a famous Goswami who made this Gokulanand temple, and he was staying there. So then the 13th branch of Gadadhar Pandit is Vaninath Brahmachari, then 14th is Vallabh Chaitanya Das. So all these branches are described here. Then another branch is Srinath Chakravarti, and it is described by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he was an reservoir of all the good qualities, and he was always in love of God. So expert in bringing everyone to love of God. He was expert preacher. Another devotee, Uddhav Das, he was also very qualified, and he was preaching in so many places. Another devotee was Jita Mitra. He was Shyama Manjari from Krishna Leela. Then there was another devotee called Jagannath Das. He is another very special personality. He is the one who preached in Tripura, and he made many devotees in this state of Tripura. Who is this Jagannath Das? He is the assistant of Chitra Devi, Chitra Gopi, his assistant, her assistant, and her name is Tilakini. So that is Jagannath Das. Then there is another devotee called Hari Acharya. He is Kalakshi. Then another various devotees. One of the devotees, Sadipuriya Gopal. He is another great preacher. And he preached in Bangladesh, current Bangladesh. This Sadipuriya Gopal, he was the preacher there. He went there and he preached. Another devotee was Krishnadas Brahmachari. Who is he? Indulekha, another one of the 8 prominent gopis, Indulekha. So he is Krishnadas Brahmachari. If any of you have been to Vrindavan, most of you must have been to Vrindavan. So in the Radha Damodar Mandir, when you do parikrama, you find a tomb of Krishna Das Brahmachari. Prabhupada writes, some people say he is the Krishnadas Brahmachari of this Gadadhar Pandit, or some people say he is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Prabhupada says, whoever they may be, both were expert preachers of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we should offer them all the respects. And then he continues to describe various other devotees, Sri Harsha, then Raghu Mishra, Lakshmi Nath Pandit, Bangavati, Chaitanya Das, Raghunath Das. So all these devotees, he describes various names. Amogh Pandit, Hasti Gopal, Chaitanya Vallabh, Mangala Vaishnava. Prabhupada describes in detail about this Mangala Vaishnava. He describes who are his descendants, their disciples. Then Mangal Das, once he was making a road from Jagannath Puri to Navadvip, and as he was digging, he found a deity of Radha Vallabh. So that is the story of Mangala Vaishnava. Another devotee, his name was Mangal Thakur. He had 3 sons. Prabhupada writes their descendants are still living. So another branch is Shivananda Chakravarti, who was Lavanga Manjari. So after describing all these branches of Gadadhar Pandit, Kaviraj Goswami says there are many, many more. Panditera Gana Sabha Bhagavata Dhanya Pranavallabha Sabar Shri Krishna Chaitanya. All the devotees of Gadadhar Pandit, they are Bhagavata Dhanya. They are great devotees. And all of them, they had Mahaprabhu as their life and soul. So all the devotees of Advaita Acharya, Nityanand Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, all of them, for all these devotees, Mahaprabhu was their life and soul. 18 skandha koilu shakhara ganan, yasaba smarana bhava bandha vimochan. So, sometimes a thought comes, so many names after names are coming. Sometimes it becomes boring. Kaviraj Goswami tells, what is the advantage of just hearing the names of these devotees? Just remembering these devotees? Ei sabha smarane bhava bandha vimochan. Just by remembering the devotees of the Lord, one will be free from the bondage of birth and death. That is the glory of remembering the devotees of the Lord. Yesham samsmaranat pumsam sadyo shuddhyanti vaigrihat kim punar darshan sparsha pada shauchasanadibhi. Just by remembering the devotees, the entire house becomes purified. Sadyo shuddhyanti vaigrihat. Parikshit Maharaj is telling to Shukdev Goswami, just by remembering the devotees, one becomes purified. What to speak of? Kim puna darshana sparsha pada shauchasanadibhi. What is the glory of taking darshan of the devotee, touching the feet of the devotee, washing the feet of the devotees? Darshan sparsha pada shauchasanadibhi. So therefore, just by remembering these devotees, one becomes free from the entanglement of material existence. With our material intelligence, we cannot understand how this happens. Because, we are used to see things from our logical understanding. That's why all these jnanis and yogis, they cannot take to bhakti easily, because for them, unless you sit in a very right posture and you meditate for thousands of years, or unless you memorize all the verses, or you know all the philosophy, how can you know God? Just by chanting Hare Krishna, you will know God. It is so simple for them to accept. ये करने से भगवान कैसे मिल सकते हैं? That is the wonderful nature of Krishna consciousness. And Mahaprabhu is pleased by such simple endeavor. When Mahaprabhu was touring to South India, he met that South Indian Brahmana who was not even able to chant properly. अष्टादश अध्याय पढ़े आनंद आवेशे, अशुद्ध पढ़े न लोक करे उपहासे. And people were making fun of him. He was not even able to chant properly. केह हसे केह निंदे ताहा नहीं माने, आविष्ट होइया गीता पढ़े आनंदित मने. But he was not caring about all these. He was happy because he was relishing Krishna. He was relishing the emotions which Krishna was reciprocating with Arjun. महाप्रभु पूछिला तारे सुन महाशय, कौन अर्थ जानी तुम्हारे त सुख होए. Mahaprabhu asked him, Arey, you cannot even read, but how are you experiencing such happiness? Because he told, actually my Guru Maharaj has told me, that's why I'm reading. So he says, that's okay, but you are happy also. What is the secret of your happiness? इतना सुखी कैसे हैं आप? Then he reveals, अर्जुनेर रथे होए कृष्ण रज्जुधर, बसिया छे हाथे तोत्र श्यामल सुंदर. अर्जुनेरे कहिते छे न हित उपदेश, एई लागी होए मोरे आनंद आवेश. When I see the cover page of this Bhagavad Gita, I see Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna. That gives me ecstasy. How Krishna is Bhaktavatsala. Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu kahe Gita पाठे तुम्हारा ही अधिकार, तुम ही तो जानी हसे गीता अर्थ सार. Arey, you are only qualified to read Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, we should not use our logic. Just by reading the names, we'll advance, we'll become purified. Just faith is required. Simple faith is very rare. Saral Shraddha. Many times we use our, logic to our Shraddha. Why should we keep our faith? Okay, because this things has happened, so okay, we can put faith. But just by chanting, we'll be liberated. That is what we are struggling to have, that faith. That is why we are reading all these. That's why we are discussing, so that we can also develop that simple faith. Yasabar smarane bhava bandha vimochan. Just by remembering the names of these devotees, will be purified. What will happen? What else will happen? Yasabar smarane pai Caitanya charan. Yasabar smarane hoye vanchita puran. Just by remembering the devotees, one will attain the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya, and all the desires will be fulfilled. Just by remembering their names. What can be more simpler than this? Just naam lene se, yaad karne se, bhavbandha vimochan, pai Chaitanya charan, vanchita puran. What can be a greater benediction than this? That is a simplicity of Krishna consciousness. That's why Prabhupada would say chanting is, bhakti is very simple, but not easy. Because to put that simple faith is difficult. Because we have our crooked intelligence. We are used to deal with the material nature, which is so very complex. To simple faith is very difficult. So that's what we have to pray, to become simple in our practice. So after describing the various branches, Kaviraj Goswami is offering obeisances to Gadadhar Pandit branch and all the branches, all the various devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Ataeva tasabha vandiye charan, Chaitanya malira kohi lila anukram. Now, after 12 chapters, Kaviraj Goswami says, after offering obeisances to all the devotees of the Lord, now I shall describe the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in chronological order. So thus starts the beginning of the Leela of the Lord. So far, for 12 chapters, Kaviraj Goswami has worked hard to establish the supremacy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to establish the supremacy of Advaita Acharya, Nityanand Prabhu, Gadadhar Pandit, and all the devotees of the Lord. He has spent 12 chapters. Now he'll begin. गौर लीलामृत सिंधु अपार अगाध की कहिते पारी ताहा अवगाह साध ताहार माधुर्य गंधे लुब्ध होए मन अतएव तटे रही चाखी एक कण. Gaur Leela Amrit is like Sindhu. The nectarine pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like ocean. Apar. Ocean is unfathomable, agad, immeasurable. Chaitanya Leelamrit, Gaur Leelamrit Sindhu Apaki Kahite Pare. Who has the courage to measure this ocean? Nobody can understand. Even Brahma, even Shesha, even Ananta cannot understand. Then how can I understand? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Leela Adbhut Ananta Brahma Shiva Sheshiyar Nahi Payant. Lord is unlimited. Ananta Shesh is trying to sing the glories of the Lord since the beginning of the creation with his thousands of mouths. He has not come to an end so far. Nantam vidamyahamami munayo agrajaste maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye gayan gunandash shatanan adideva sheshodhunapi samavastanasya param. Shesha, Ananta Shesh has not come to an end with his thousands of mouths. He is singing since the beginning of the creation. Nasya param. Who can understand the pastimes of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Adbhutananta? So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami describes in many places in Chaitanya Charitāmrita. Out of my shamelessness, I am just trying to write few of the glories. The glories are unlimited. Ananta Chaitanya Leela kohite na jani. How can I understand the Ananta pastimes of the Lord? But lobhe lajja khaiya tarak kori tana tani. But out of my greed, I am just describing a little bit. Why? Why I'm describing? Because I have received the instructions. Not out of my own impudence I am writing. It is the Agya which I have received from the Brajavasis. Paya yara Agya dhan Brajera Vaishnavagan Bando Tara Mukhya Haridas Chaitanya Vilas Sindhu Kallo Lera Eka Bindu Tara Kona Kahe Krishnadas. Kaviraj Goswami says, Arya, I have got the Agya Dhan, the treasure of the instructions. Brajera Vaishnavagan, all the Brajvasis, they gave me instructions, and the best of them, the leader of all the Brajvasis was Bandotara Mukhya Haridas Pandit. So therefore, what I am doing? Chaitanya Vilas, the pastimes of the Lord Chaitanya, they are like Sindhu, they are like ocean. And out of that ocean, Kallolera, there is one wave in the ocean somewhere. Kallolera ek bindu, one drop of that wave, one atom of the drop of the wave of the ocean of Mahaprabhu's pastimes I am trying to describe. Kallolera ek bindu tara kana kohe Krishnadas. So we cannot even imagine what pastimes Mahaprabhu has performed. Nobody can understand. So therefore, Chaitanya Chandrera Leela Agad Gambhir. Agad, it is immeasurable and very deep. Pravesh Korite Nari Sparshe Rahetir, Kaviraj Goswami says, I cannot even enter. Therefore, I am just standing on the ocean and trying to touch the drop of the ocean. That's it. Sparshe Rahitir. बस मैं तीर पे रह के, छोर पे रह के, किनारे पे रह के कण को स्पर्श कर रहा हूं. स्पर्शी रहे तीर. And what is the effect of such sparsha? Tahara madhurya gandhe lubdha hoye man atayeva tate rahi chaki ek kan. I am just eager to taste it. The fragrance of the ocean is so intoxicating that I am just eager to taste more and more. Ateva tate rahi. That is satisfying me. I don't want to even enter the ocean. Because wherever you touch a ocean of nectar, it is all nectarine. Chaitanya Chandrera Lila Amritera Sar Ek Lila Pravahe Vahe Shata Shata Dhar. Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they are like Amrita. And every pastime, from every pastime, hundreds of branches are coming. So Kaviraj Goswami is amazing poet, amazing way he has made Chaitanya Charitāmrita so sweet with his compilations. Chaitanya Leela Amritpur, Krishna Leela Sukarpur, Duhe Mili Hoye Sumadhurya. Sadhu Guru Prasade Taha Ei Aswade Sei Jane Madhurya Prachurya. Chaitanya Leela is like nectar. Chaitanya Leela Amrit. It is like a sweet rice. And what is Krishna Leela? Sukarpur. If you mix camphor in sweet rice, it becomes more tasty. Duhe mili hoye sumadhurya. And we have received it by the mercy of Guru and the Vaishnava. Sadhu Guru Prasade Taha Ei Aswade. Only by the mercy of Guru and devotees we can get a glimpse of the nectar. That is sufficient. It's like, sometimes in the morning, Charnamrit is distributed after Guru Puja. And if by chance a drop of Charnamrit falls on the ground and there is an ant going by, that one drop is sufficient to drown an ant. And it will be more than enough for hundreds of ants to drown. That is just a gross example of what is the pastime, what is the nectar which is there in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is like an ocean, and we are like that small ant, not even ant, a microorganism. So that is the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says that please don't use your intelligence. Please don't use your logic. Shraddha kari ei lila ei pade shune. Just have faith and read the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. Gaur Lila Bhakti Bhakta Rasa Tattva Jane. So as we are now beginning the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, it may look very bewildering sometimes. It may look very, very difficult to understand. But Kaviraj Goswami warns, please don't use your logic. Shraddha kari ei lila pade jai shune. Gaur Lila Bhakti Bhakta Rasa Tattva Jane. He'll understand the tattva of Bhakti, Bhakta, Rasa. So therefore, please don't use your intelligence. That's what Kaviraj Goswami says. And then, after describing everything, he offers his respects to Roop and Raghunath. Shri Roop Raghunath Pade Yar Ash Chaitanya Charitāmrit Kohe Krishna Das. So with this, Kaviraj Goswami, he ends the various philosophical discussions. In the first 7 chapters, he described 14 verses of Mangalacharan, all complex, in very, very detailed philosophical discussions are there, establishing the supremacy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu. Then in the 8th chapter, Kaviraj Goswami describes how he received the orders to write from the superiors. And then from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, these 4 chapters, in these 4 chapters, he describes the Chaitanya tree. So that is the preface of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So from next time onwards, we'll be beginning the wonderful discussion of the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, starting from Adi Leela. So what is Adi Leela? The Adi Leela pastimes, they are mostly the pastimes of the Lord as a small child and as an householder. And the Anta Leela, they are the pastimes of the Lord as sannyasi. That Anta Leela pastimes is divided into Madhya and Antya. So the Madhya is the first 6 years of sannyas. That is the Madhya Leela. And the remaining is the Anta Leela. So we'll be discussing that. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions anybody has? Okay, so it seems there are no questions. So we'll end here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai.